She opened her eyes slowly, the sunlight hurting her eyes as it poured through the window. Everything around her was strange. The room was small and quiet, with plain walls and a faint smell of medicine. She sat up, her head spinning, trying to remember why she was there, but her mind felt empty. She could not remember her own name, where she lived, or how she ended up in this room. A wave of panic rushed through her chest, making her heart beat fast. Her eyes moved to her arm and she froze. There was a tattoo, a name written clearly in bold letters. She didn't recognize it, but it seemed important. She traced the letters with her finger over and over, hoping it would trigger a memory, but nothing came. She felt lost, like she was someone else entirely, trapped in her own body without a past. The door opened, and a nurse came in, looking surprised to see her awake. "How are you feeling?" the nurse asked gently. She shook her head, unable to answer. Words felt heavy, stuck in her throat. She wanted to explain, to ask about the name on her arm, but she didn't know where to start. The nurse smiled softly and brought her some water. She took it slowly, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She looked around the room again, noticing small details: a chair in the corner, a table with a few personal items, a window that looked out to a street she did not recognize. Everything seemed ordinary, but nothing felt familiar. She realized she was completely alone in this world as far as she knew. With no memory to guide her, a mix of fear and curiosity took over. Who was she? Whose name was on her arm? She knew one thing for certain: that tattoo was the only clue to her past. She needed to understand it, to find out who it belonged to, and somehow, in the process, discover herself again. Each breath she took felt heavy, but also necessary. She had survived waking up with nothing, and now she had to start moving forward, even if she did not know the path. Every small step, every observation, became important. She touched the tattoo one more time, letting the letters sink into her mind. Promising herself that she would not give up until she found answers, she could not stop thinking about the tattoo. It was the only thing that felt real, the only thread connecting her to something she couldn't remember. She stared at it again, tracing the letters slowly, wondering who this person was and why their name was on her arm. It was like a puzzle she had to solve, a door she had to open to get her life back. She decided she could not stay in the room forever. Even with no memory, she had to take action. She tried to get up, feeling weak and unsteady, but her determination was stronger than her fear. She walked to the window and looked out, seeing people moving on the street below. Some were rushing, some were talking, some seemed happy. It was all foreign to her, yet she felt an urge to join them. To move forward and find out more, she asked the nurse again about the name, but the nurse only shook her head. "I don't know who that is," she said. "Maybe someone can help you later." That answer did not satisfy her. She needed to know now. She left the room, careful not to stumble, and stepped into the hallway. Everything smelled faintly of antiseptic, and the quiet hum of the hospital made her nervous. She could feel her heart pounding, but she kept moving. She had to find someone who could give her answers. Outside the building, the world seemed overwhelming. Cars passed quickly, voices mingled, and she had no idea where to go. She clutched her arm, the tattoo feeling heavier now, as if it were guiding her. Every person she passed made her wonder if they knew her or the person whose name she carried. She wanted to ask questions, but words felt awkward and strange, as if her tongue didn't know them yet. Hours passed as she wandered, stopping strangers and showing them the tattoo, hoping someone would recognize it. Most shook their heads, and some stared, confused. But she did not give up. With every attempt, she felt a spark of hope. She knew that somewhere out there was a person connected to her past, someone who could bring clarity. The journey felt frightening, but she could sense that the tattoo was more than just ink. It was a lifeline. With that lifeline, she would find the truth, and bit by bit, she would find herself again. She walked through the streets, clutching her arm and staring at the tattoo, hoping for a sign. The city felt alive, but confusing, full of people who had places to go and lives she could not remember. Every step she took brought a mix of fear and excitement. She did not know where she belonged. but she knew she had to keep moving. She stopped at a small cafe, thinking someone there might recognize the name. She showed the tattoo to the barista, who shook his head politely and went back to work. She felt disappointment, but she refused to give up. She left and wandered through the streets, stopping at stores, asking strangers, and showing the ink on her arm. Most people were kind but did not know anything. Some looked confused, some worried, but she could sense their curiosity. Her determination grew stronger with every small step she took. As the sun began to set, she found herself near a park. Families were walking, children playing, and she sat on a bench to rest. She felt exhausted, but her mind would not stop. She remembered a feeling warmth, comfort, safety that came when she thought of the name on her arm. It was faint, like a shadow of a memory, but it kept her going. She realized that finding this person was more than just a search for answers. It was a search for herself. She noticed a woman sitting on the next bench, reading a book. Something about her seemed familiar, though she could not place it. Taking a deep breath, she approached and asked cautiously, "Do you know this name?" She showed the tattoo. The woman looked up, her eyes widening slightly. I think I know who that belongs to," she said slowly. Her voice was calm but serious. Something inside her stirred. Could this be the lead she had been searching for? For the first time that day, she felt hope that was real and tangible. The tattoo, once just ink, had become a map guiding her through a world she did not remember. She knew she was close to finding someone who could explain, someone who could help her understand herself again. With renewed energy, she followed the woman's directions, feeling a mix of fear, hope, and anticipation. She was not alone anymore. The search was beginning to show signs of success, and she felt ready for whatever came next. She followed the woman down quiet streets, her heart beating fast. Each step felt heavy, but there was excitement too. She could feel that the answers she had been searching for were close. The woman led her to a small house with a garden full of flowers. It looked ordinary, but to her, it felt important. Like a place waiting for her to arrive. The door opened, and a person stood there, looking surprised. The moment their eyes met, something shifted. There was a spark, a recognition that neither could explain at first. The person's face was kind, with a gentle expression that made her feel safe, even though she did not know them yet. They invited her inside, and she stepped in. Feeling a mixture of fear and relief, they sat down at a small table, and she showed the tattoo again. The person looked closely, then smiled softly. "I've been hoping you would come back," they said. Their voice carried warmth and familiarity, even though she did not remember them fully. She asked questions, her voice shaky, and they answered slowly, carefully, telling small stories about her past, moments she had forgotten, and experiences they had shared together. Each story was like a light turning on in a dark room. Bits of memory started returning, small flashes of laughter, a hand held, a comforting hug. She realized that the tattoo had not only led her to this person, but had also led her back to pieces of herself she had lost. Every detail, every memory, felt like a gift she had been waiting for without knowing it. She felt gratitude mixed with wonder, and even though she still did not remember everything, she understood that she was not alone anymore. They talked for hours, sharing stories, laughing softly, and sometimes sitting in silence. She felt a sense of belonging she had not felt since waking up. The name on her arm was no longer just ink. It was a connection, a bond that guided her back to her life and her memories. She realized that the journey had been difficult, but it had been worth it. With this person by her side, she felt ready to face the challenges ahead. Piece together the rest of her past and start building a future. She had found hope, understanding, and a place where she belonged. Days passed as she stayed with the person who had recognized the tattoo. Each day brought new memories, small pieces of her life returning like fragments of a puzzle. She remembered voices, smells, laughter, and moments of comfort. The more she remembered, the more she realized how much she had missed, how much she wanted to reconnect with the world around her. She began to understand the importance of the tattoo. It was more than just a name. It had been a bridge, a a sign pointing her toward the person who could help her remember herself. She felt grateful and a little amazed at how something so small had guided her. Through the confusion and fear she had felt since waking up, the ink on her arm was not just art, was a lifeline. With each memory, she felt stronger. She could remember conversations she had once had, the way people had looked at her, and even small details of places she had been. It was overwhelming at times, but it also made her feel alive. She knew that finding this person had changed everything. She was no longer wandering alone through the streets, searching blindly. She had answers, connections, and hope. They spent hours talking, looking at old photos, and sharing stories. She laughed at moments she had forgotten, cried at memories she had buried, and slowly built a sense of identity again. It felt like coming home after a long journey in a strange world. The bond with this person grew stronger every day, and she realized that she had been searching not just for memories, but for connection and understanding. Finally, she stepped outside with a sense of peace she had not felt since waking up. She looked at the tattoo on her arm one last time, smiling softly. It had guided her to the right place, to the right person, and back to herself. Life would not be easy, and there were still pieces of her past to discover, but she knew she had the strength to face it. The journey had begun with fear and confusion, but it ended with hope, belonging, and the knowledge that even in the darkest moments, one small clue could change everything. She walked forward, ready to embrace the future, carrying both her memories and the lessons she had learned along the way.